Welcome back to another episode of The Science of Winning. Today I wanted to discuss the topic of a social contract. So what exactly is a social contract? In society, based on being part of society, unless you're a hermit living in the woods all by yourself, we are part of a social environment which requires social contracts. Fundamentally, this is us being able to behave effectively within society so that not only does society function appropriately and from a healthy perspective, but we as individuals. Because when society isn't functioning appropriately or functionally, we suffer as individuals as well. And I bring this up because as CEOs or as business leaders, one of the things that I see being challenged significantly right now are social contracts. And the most important thing here is if we're talking about the topic of winning, winning requires four main things. And these are four main buckets. Number one is strategy, which is your approach. The second is your state, how you show up. The third is your systems. And the fourth is your squad. And the squad is the one that relates to social contracts. Because your squad, if you think about any mission, whether it's a military mission, a sports mission, a business mission, whatever it is, the reason why I use squad is because you want the best of the best on your team. You don't want to go into a military combat area with low performers or people that don't understand a social contract. So, for example, if you went into the middle of a war, you're dropped in there with your Navy SEAL team, and you got a couple of guys or gals that say, hey, look, I didn't sign up for this. I'm out of here. Or, you know what? Sorry, I think I got something better to do. Or, you know what? My dog is sick, so I got to leave here and I got to go back home and check on my dog. Now, I'm not saying that it's not important, and I'm a family man throughout. And that's one thing you should know about me is I'm all about family. I'm all about making your family first. But the one thing that I'm seeing right now in the social contract of the workplace is that people have so many excuses and they are breaking the social contract. And if it sounds like I'm beating around the bush here, here's what it means. There's a lot of people today that think it's socially acceptable to show up late, to say or make up excuses as to why they couldn't get on virtual call or a number of different things, or why they can't work a certain day of the week or whatever that is. And again, I'm all for flexibility. But we have taken this we have taken this context of social contracts and we've thrown it out the window. People think that they can do whatever they want. And this is important for us as CEOs because I have conversations with CEOs all the time saying, we don't know what to do. Like, do we make our workplace policies completely relaxed so people can do whatever they want because people are threatening to leave? People don't want to work here, the younger generation, whatever it may be. The answer is no, because a person needs to understand. And this is what I teach my kids all the time, that when you are part of this family, you are making a social contract to contribute to this family, and everybody contributes to this family. And you might say, hey, Pradeep, that is just harsh. Like, why would you treat your kids that way? No, it is the best thing you could do for kids, for them to grow up to be healthy adults, because to be a healthy adult, we have to function appropriately within society. I'm not saying you got to go and follow all social norms. That's not what I'm saying. And nor am I saying that society should control what you do. That's the opposite of what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is when you go into a workplace, there is a social contract. In fact, there's an employee contract. There is a full-blown employee contract that everybody signs. Unfortunately, many of the employee contracts, they just make it about money or compensation, benefits, what happens when you let go. But you got to make it more about the social norms. What are the social norms that you are expecting the person to adhere to? Showing up on time, for example, not making a bunch of excuses, right? Showing up fully engaged. These are parts of the social contract. What if I showed up one day and I said to my son, hey son, I just don't feel like taking care of you today. Sorry, I'm not going to make you food, or I'm not going to take you to your activities. Go walk to your gymnastics lesson. What kind of father would I be? I've made that social contract when we didn't decide to have kids. It was kind of an accident, both of them. But there's a social contract. We had made that social contract when we said we are going to be parents. And so we can't get out of that social contract until these kids are old enough to fend for themselves. Same thing with employees. We are letting our frontline, or whoever it may be, it's not even frontline. This is happening at the executive level as well, where people are making a whole bunch of excuses to not follow their social contract or even employee contract when it comes to work. So I don't want to come across as sounding harsh, but I'm saying there's a point in time where we have to draw the line as leaders to say, okay, now people are starting to take advantage of the way that healthy society operates. And in this case, I'm talking about the work society. We are seeing this significantly. And I don't want to talk too much about, politics, but a large part of it has stemmed from the political system, primarily in the US, because it is now socially acceptable be belligerent, to do all these things, it's just phenomenal what people think they have the right to do in a social environment. Again, it's okay if you're in your own home, your own yard, do whatever you want. But the moment we step into a public place for society, we have to, number one, and this is what I talk about most, is we have to be mindful of the other people around us. Again, it's not about following norms or rules or regulations or the laws, although, many of those laws you do want to follow, but it is about understanding and be mindful, because from the Buddhist perspective, they talked about mindfulness from one perspective here. They talked about how every person should think about the decision they make as though that decision is going to have a ripple effect throughout not only the universe, but also generations to come. That's very, very important. Okay, because we are seeing that effect right now in society, primarily in the US. It's going to take them generations to get back to where they probably should have been in terms of trying to bring the society back together. Right now, there's so much civil unrest in the US, it's not even funny. But the Buddhists also say, don't take yourself so seriously, because perhaps your decision or your actions aren't going to have any impact at all. Right? So they're not going to have any impact at all. You're not going to make a difference on society whatsoever. So it's this combination approach. Yes, we have to be mindful of the things that we do, because it can have a massive impact on society. But we also don't need to take ourselves so seriously. So to wrap it up here, as a business leader, one of the things we need to take into consideration is we need to have that confidence and follow our gut instinct. Also take a look at the research, right? You don't have to take my word for it, but take a look at the research about healthy environments, healthy societies, healthy upbringings for kids. And that requires certain boundaries. Boundaries are absolutely critical for healthy relationships and for social contracts and healthy communities. And so if we are doubting ourselves as leaders, we have to check ourselves to say, hey, I think this is actually important for people to show up on time. I think it's important for people to not make so many excuses, right? People have things that come up, of course, that's life. But if you're seeing a pattern, we got to draw the line here as business leaders, because that's not going to work out well for the organizations. And in many cases, it's actually not working out well for the individuals, because when someone is making these excuses or not following social contracts, a lot of the times the reason behind it is because they are not doing well themselves. Okay, so they're somehow dysregulated either from the emotional environment or from their internal emotional environment, or there's something else that's happening here. So not that you have to be a psychologist here, but just have a strong understanding. If your gut is telling you as a business leader that, hey, no, I got to draw the boundaries here, people are not following their social or employment contracts, then I highly recommend that you do, because in the long run, it's going to be better for your organization. It's going to be better for you. It's going to be better, most likely, for that individual as well, depending on the situation.